Mr. Zane was a rich man. He owned many businesses and lived in a big city. People knew him as a powerful and successful millionaire. But deep inside, Mr. Zane felt very lonely. He had no close friends or family who cared for him. His life was full of work, meetings, and money. He never had time for anyone else. One cold night, Mr. Zane left his office late. The city was dark and quiet. He walked quickly toward his car. He did not notice the two men standing near the corner. They were waiting for him. These men were hired by someone who wanted to take all of Mr. Zane's money and power. As Mr. Zane opened his car door, the men jumped out. "Give us your wallet," one shouted. Mr. Zane was shocked. He tried to run, but they grabbed him and pushed him hard. He fell to the ground. The second man pulled out a knife and moved closer. "Please don't hurt me," Mr. Zane said. He was scared for his life. Suddenly a voice called out, "Stop!" Mr. Zane looked up and saw a young girl walking toward them. She was holding a white cane. She was blind. The men laughed. "What can a blind girl do?" one said, smiling cruelly. The girl did not stop. She moved carefully but with strong steps. "Leave him alone," she said firmly. The men looked at each other, surprised. Then one of them swung his arm toward her. But the girl was fast. She grabbed a small stick from the ground and hit the man's hand. He dropped the knife. Mr. Zane watched in disbelief as the girl moved with great skill. Though she could not see, she knew exactly where to hit. The men stepped back, confused and afraid. "Run away," the girl shouted. "Don't come back." The men did not wait. They ran into the darkness. Mr. Zane sat on the ground, breathing hard. He looked at the girl. "Thank you," he said, still shocked. "How did you know to help me?" The girl smiled. "My name is Noor," she said. "I heard your voice. I knew you were in trouble." Mr. Zane stood up slowly. He looked at her again. She seemed small and weak, but something about her was strong and brave. "Can I trust you?" he asked. "Will you help me?" Noor nodded. "Yes. Come with me. You are not safe here." Mr. Zane did not hesitate. He followed Noor through quiet streets and narrow alleys. He could not see where they were going, but he trusted her. After a few minutes, they reached a small house. It was simple and old. Noor used her cane to open the door and led Mr. Zane inside. The house was warm and clean. Mr. Zane felt calm for the first time that night. Noor closed the door behind them. "Who are you, really?" Mr. Zane asked. "Why did you help me?" Noor looked at him with kind eyes. "Because I know what it is to be alone and afraid," she said softly. "And because I believe everyone deserves a second chance." Mr. Zane thought about his life. He had money and power, but no one who cared. Now a blind girl who had nothing was helping him. He felt something he had not felt before. Hope. Suddenly he heard a noise outside. Was it the men coming back? He felt a chill run down his spine. "Stay here," Noor whispered. "I will check." She moved toward the window, touching the walls and furniture carefully. Mr. Zane stayed quiet, listening. After a few minutes, Noor returned. "It's safe for now," she said, "but we must be careful." Mr. Zane nodded. "Thank you, Noor. I don't know what I would have done without you." Noor smiled. "You don't have to thank me. Just rest. Tomorrow is a new day." Mr. Zane sat down on an old chair. He looked around the small room, feeling a strange mix of fear and safety. He realized that his life was about to change, all because of this brave blind girl. And he knew one thing for sure: he would trust Noor no matter what. The next morning, Mr. Zane woke up in the small, quiet house. The sunlight came through a tiny window, making soft patterns on the old wooden floor. He looked around, still feeling unsure where he was. But one thing was clear. He was safe, at least for now. Noor was already awake. She was preparing some tea in the small kitchen. Her movements were calm and slow, but sure. Mr. Zane watched her. He wondered how someone who could not see could live so independently. "Good morning," Noor said softly when she saw him awake. "Did you sleep well?" Mr. Zane nodded. Better than I thought I would. Thank you, Noor. Noor smiled but did not say much. She handed him a cup of warm tea. The drink smelled nice and tasted sweet. Mr. Zane took a sip and felt a little stronger. He needed to think about what had happened last night and what to do next. I want to know more about you, Mr. Zane said. How did you learn to defend yourself like that? And how did you find me? Noor looked down and touched the edge of the table. I grew up in this neighborhood. It's not easy here. People like me, blind and poor, have to learn to protect ourselves. She paused and then continued. I was on my way home when I heard shouting. I followed the sounds. When I found you, I just knew I had to help. Mr. Zane felt respect growing inside him. Noor was brave and kind, even though life had been hard for her. Suddenly there was a soft knock on the door. Noor stopped and listened carefully. It might be them, she whispered. The men who attacked you, they might come back. Mr. Zane's heart began to race. What should we do? Noor moved quickly but quietly. She opened a small trap. You're under the floor. This is my secret hiding place. We can stay here until it is safe. Mr. Zane followed her and climbed down into the dark, small room. It smelled of old wood and earth. There was barely enough space for 2 people. Outside, they heard footsteps and voices. The men were searching the house, looking for Mr. Zane. Noor held Mr. Zane's hand and whispered, Stay calm, they won't find us here. Minutes passed like hours. Mr. Zane's heart was pounding, but he stayed quiet. He felt a strange connection with Noor. She was not just his savior. She was someone he could trust completely. Finally, the footsteps and voices faded away. The men left. Noor smiled weakly. They are gone for now. We are safe. Mr. Zane looked at her and said, You saved my life. I owe you more than I can say. Noor shook her head. No debts here, just friendship. Mr. Zane thought deeply. His life had been all about money and power. But now, with Noor, he felt something more important, kindness and trust. He made a decision. Noor, will you come with me to my house? I want you to meet my family. Maybe you can stay with us and help me in ways only you can. Noor looked surprised but nodded slowly. I will come with you, but promise me one thing. No more danger. Mr. Zane smiled. I promise. As they climbed out of the hiding place, Mr. Zane felt hope for the first time in a long while. He knew the road ahead would be hard, but with Noor by his side, he was ready to face anything. The city outside was waking up. The sun was rising and a new day had begun, a day that would change both their lives forever. The journey back to Mr. Zane's house was quiet. Noor held onto his arm tightly, feeling the world around her with every step. The busy city noises buzzed in the air, but she stayed calm. Mr. Zane walked slowly, careful not to rush her. When they finally reached the grand house, Mr. Zane opened the large door and invited Noor inside. The house was full of shining furniture and expensive paintings. Everything looked perfect, but also cold and empty. Noor's fingers brushed over the walls and furniture as she walked. She wanted to understand this strange new place where she was now a guest. Soon, Mr. Zane's family gathered in the big living room. His wife, Mrs. Amina, looked worried but relieved to see him alive. His 2 sons stared at Noor with curiosity, unsure why their father had brought a blind girl home. Who is she? Mr. Zane's older son asked quietly. She saved my life, Mr. Zane said simply. Her name is Noor. She helped me when no one else would. The room fell silent. No one expected such a humble, kind girl to be the hero. Later that night, Noor sat alone in her small room. She could hear soft footsteps outside, the family moving around, talking quietly. She felt both scared and hopeful. Suddenly there was a knock on her door. Mr. Zane stood there, looking tired but kind. I want to thank you again, he said softly. You saved me, and now you are part of this family. Noor smiled. I just did what anyone should do. Mr. Zane nodded. But not everyone is like you. As days passed, Noor noticed strange things in the house. Locked doors, whispers in the hallways, and shadows moving in the corners. Mr. Zane's family seemed friendly, but something was hidden beneath their smiles. One evening, Noor heard a soft crying sound coming from upstairs. She followed the noise and found Mr. Zane's youngest son sitting alone in the dark. "Why are you crying?" she asked gently. The boy looked up, eyes full of fear. "I'm scared. I don't like what is happening here." Noor took his hand and whispered, "You are not alone." The boy nodded, feeling safe for the first time. But the next day, the tension in the house grew. Mr. Zane received a mysterious phone call. His face became serious and he left quickly. Noor stayed behind, worried about what was coming next. She knew danger was still near. That night, Noor heard footsteps outside her door again. This time, it was Mr. Zane's wife. "We don't trust you," she said coldly. "You don't belong here." Noor stood her ground. "I only want to help." Mrs. Amina's eyes flashed with anger. "You don't know who you are messing with." Noor's heart pounded, but she stayed calm. She knew she must protect Mr. Zane no matter what. As the night deepened, Noor realized that saving Mr. Zane was only the beginning. Dark secrets were hidden in this house, and she would have to be brave to uncover them. Noor couldn't sleep that night. Mrs. Amina's cold words echoed in her ears. "You don't belong here." She lay in the soft guest bed, her fingers clenching the bedsheet tightly. Something was wrong in this house. It wasn't just the strange behavior. It was the fear, deep, quiet fear, that no one dared to speak about. In the morning, Mr. Zane was gone again. He had left early, without saying where he was going. Noor sat at the breakfast table with the rest of the family. The two sons stared at their plates in silence. Mrs. Amina only sipped her tea and said nothing. Suddenly, a maid entered the room. Her eyes were red from crying. Noor turned her head. "Is everything okay?" she asked gently. The maid hesitated, then glanced at Mrs. Amina. She didn't speak, just shook her head quickly and rushed away. Noor frowned. Something was being hidden. Later that day, Noor sat in the garden to feel the sun on her face. Mr. Zane's youngest son, Daniel, came and sat beside her. He looked worried. "Auntie Noor," he whispered, "my dad said you're the only one he can trust now." Noor turned her face toward him. "Why, sweetheart?" He looked down at his shoes. "Because someone in our house wants to hurt him." Noor froze. Daniel added, "I heard Mama talking on the phone at night. She said something about finishing what they started." Noor's heart skipped. Could Mrs. Amina be part of the attack on her own husband? She took a deep breath and asked, "Daniel, can you tell me where your dad keeps important papers or anything that might help us?" The boy nodded. "There's a small room in the basement. He calls it his safe place. But Mama told us never to go there." As night fell, Noor waited quietly in her room. When the whole house was asleep, she took careful steps through the dark hallways. Her hands ran along the cold walls, counting every corner until she found the basement stairs. Step by step she descended, the wood creaking beneath her bare feet. She found the door Daniel spoke of. It was locked, but not tightly. She pushed, gently. It opened with a quiet click. Inside was a small room filled with metal cabinets, boxes, and files. Noor moved her hand along the shelves and drawers, trying to understand what she was touching. Then her fingers felt something strange, a small, hard flash drive lying on a folder. She picked it up and placed it in her pocket. Suddenly, footsteps. Someone was coming. Noor quickly moved behind a curtain. A shadow entered the room. It was Mrs. Amina. She didn't turn on the lights. She went straight to one of the drawers and opened it, as if she had done it many times before. Noor held her breath. "I'll finish this before he gets back," Mrs. Amina whispered to herself. She pulled out a file and left. Noor stayed hidden until the door closed again. Once back in her room, Noor took out the flash drive and thought, "This might be what Mr. Zane needs to know the truth." The next morning, Mr. Zane returned. His face looked more tired than ever. As soon as he saw Noor, he smiled weakly. I was beginning to think you'd left. She shook her head. I found something. I think it's important. She gave him the flash drive. Mr. Zane took it to his private study and plugged it into his laptop. What he saw made him freeze: emails, bank transactions, secret messages between his wife and one of his own business partners. They were planning to take his life and his empire. Mr. Zane sat in silence, his hands shaking. The woman he had trusted for 20 years had betrayed him. When he came out of the room, his face was pale, but his eyes were burning with fire. "You were right, Noor," he said quietly. "And now, I need your help one last time." Noor nodded slowly. The real danger was only beginning. Mr. Zane sat in silence, staring at the wall. His hands were still shaking after reading the emails and bank records Noor had given him. His wife, Amina, and his own business partner were planning everything behind his back. They wanted to take his life and all his property. Noor sat across from him, listening quietly. "I don't understand," Mr. Zane whispered. "How could she do this? After everything I gave her? The house, the money, the life." Noor gently said, "Sometimes people love power more than people." Mr. Zane looked at her. "You saved me twice now, Noor. First from the attack and now from betrayal." But Noor didn't smile. She felt something heavy in her chest. "The danger wasn't over yet. She will strike again," Noor said. "She knows you found something. That's why she went to the basement last night." Mr. Zane nodded slowly. "Then it's time I strike first." He stood up, tall and serious, and turned to Noor. "I need your help. I want you to act like everything is normal. Smile, talk kindly to Amina, pretend you know nothing. Meanwhile, I will set the trap." Noor's lips tightened. "And if she tries again?" He gave a cold smile. "She will. That's when we'll be ready." Later that day, the house was quiet again. Noor sat in the garden, pretending to enjoy the warm sun. Amina walked over to her. "You've been here long," she said with a fake smile. "Don't you want to go back home?" Noor smiled sweetly. "Why would I leave, ma'am? Mr. Zane says I bring peace to this house." Amina's eyes turned sharp for a second, but she said nothing. Inside the house, Mr. Zane made phone calls. He talked to his lawyer, a private investigator, and a security expert. He gave them one order: "Be ready. I want full proof before I act." That night, Mr. Zane invited his wife and children for dinner. Noor was also at the table. Everything looked normal, but hidden inside the chandelier above them, a tiny recorder was working. Cameras were placed in 2 corners. It was all silent, all secret. Mr. Zane poured wine into his glass. "To family," he said. "To a fresh start." Amina raised her glass but looked unsure. "I've been thinking," Mr. Zane added. "I want to update my will. Noor helped me realize what matters most." Amina's hand froze mid-air. "She's been like a daughter." Mr. Zane smiled. "I might leave something for her too." Amina forced a smile. "That's thoughtful of you." But her eyes were cold. Noor noticed her grip tighten on the fork. Later that night, Noor pretended to sleep. She left her room door slightly open. She waited and waited. Around 1 a.m., she heard footsteps. Slow, careful, coming toward her room. Then, a creak. The door opened. Noor kept her eyes closed but listened. She could feel the cold air change as someone stepped inside. Suddenly, there was a soft click. The sound of a needle being prepared. Noor tensed. Before anything could happen, lights burst on. "Stop right there!" shouted Mr. Zane. Noor sat up quickly. She heard the person gasp. It was Amina. She dropped the small syringe in her hand and stood frozen. 2 men stepped in behind Mr. Zane, his security team. "The cameras had recorded everything. I trusted you," Mr. Zane shouted. "You were going to kill her in her sleep, a blind girl?" Amina's voice trembled. "You left me no choice. You were giving everything to that beggar." Noor remained calm, her face still and quiet. Mr. Zane walked over, picked up the syringe and handed it to the security team. "Take her," he said coldly. Amina broke down. She screamed and cried, but no one stopped. Mr. Zane turned to Noor after the guards took his wife away. You were right, he said. Evil hides behind smiles. The next morning, the sun rose quietly over the house, but everything had changed. Zayn called a meeting with his children. I made mistakes, he said, but Noor reminded me of something I lost. Kindness, courage, trust. He looked at Noor and smiled. I want her to stay, not as a guest, as family. Tears welled in Noor's eyes. She never had a family. Now, maybe, she did. But deep inside, something still didn't feel complete. She could sense it. This battle was over. But something else, something even darker, was still hiding. She didn't know what it was yet. But she was ready. The house was quiet again. Amina was gone. The cameras were removed. The guards had returned to their normal posts. Mr. Zayn thought the storm had passed, but Noor didn't feel at peace. Every night she sat alone in the garden, her head tilted as if listening to something others couldn't hear. On the 6th morning, after Amina's arrest, Mr. Zayn received a letter. It was left at the front gate wrapped in gold paper, no name on it. He opened it and read the words, "You think it's over? She was only one piece. There's more you don't know. Stop digging, or next time the blind girl won't wake up." His face went pale. He rushed to Noor, who was sitting by the window feeling the morning sun. "Noor, did you hear anything?" "Last night?" he asked, voice shaking. She turned her head toward him, calm. "Someone came. Their steps were slow. They paused near the gate. I felt something strange in the air." Mr. Zayn showed her the letter. Noor touched the paper gently. Her fingers felt the grooves of the ink. "Whoever wrote this," she whispered, "doesn't want you to know the full truth." Mr. Zayn clenched his fists. "That means there's more betrayal, more lies." He called his private investigator. Again. "Dig deeper. Find out who visited Amina in jail." That night, Noor couldn't sleep. She heard soft tapping on the wall near her bed. It wasn't the wind. It was like code. She got up quietly and followed the sound. It led her to a room she hadn't entered before, Mr. Zayn's old study. She stepped inside. The smell of old books and ink filled the air. She ran her hand along the wall until she found something. A loose wooden panel. Behind it, a small, hidden box. She opened it carefully. Inside was a dusty notebook. It belonged to Mr. Zayn's father. The pages were full of numbers, symbols, and strange notes, but one page was marked with red ink. "Never trust the inner circle. The blood on. Your left may one day take your right." Noor froze. This wasn't about just Amina. It started with Mr. Zayn's father, and now it was happening again. The next morning, Noor gave the notebook to Mr. Zayn. He read through the notes, confused. "I never saw this before. My father died, saying nothing. I thought he was just paranoid." Noor whispered maybe he wasn't. Suddenly, Mr. Zayn's phone rang. It was his investigator. "Sir," the man said, "Amina received a visitor yesterday. A man named Mr. Harris. He's your chief accountant." Mr. Zayn's eyes widened. Harris had been with him for 15 years. Loyal, quiet, smart. Or so he thought. "Track him," Zayn ordered. "And freeze all transfers. I want everything locked now." Noor sat quietly, her face serious. "You were betrayed from the inside, like your father." That night, the lights went out in the house. Everything turned dark. Mr. Zayn rushed to check the fuse box. Nothing was wrong. Suddenly, they heard a loud noise, glass shattering, gunshot. Noor ducked low and stayed still. Mr. Zayn ran to the hall and saw the guards knocked out. Someone had entered the house. He grabbed the secret pistol from his drawer and ran back to Noor's room. But she was gone. "Noor!" he yelled. Silence. Then he saw the open window. On the ground outside, he found a piece of cloth. Noor's scarf. Blood on it. The next day, Mr. Zayn sat alone in his office. His house was broken into. His blind friend taken. His heart filled with... A new letter arrived. This time it was short. "The blind girl knows too much. If you want her back, destroy the notebook. Burn the truth, or lose her forever." Mr. Zayn didn't hesitate. He called his investigator again. Find Harris and whoever he's working with." His voice turned cold, and this time, no mercy. Meanwhile, Noor sat in a dark basement. Her hands were tied, her face bruised, but she wasn't afraid. She had heard the voices. She had smelled the same cologne from that night she saved Mr. Zane. And now, she knew who the real enemy was. It wasn't Amina. It wasn't Harris alone. It was something bigger. A group of powerful men, the same people who had scared Mr. Zane's father into silence. Now they wanted to silence her too. But Noor smiled, even with pain. She knew Mr. Zane wouldn't stop. And she had one last secret left. Mr. Zane stood at the edge of his private dock, the letter in his hand shaking. Noor had been taken. She saved his life, and now she was in danger because of him. He looked at the notebook, the one filled with secrets from his father, the one the kidnappers told him to burn. But Mr. Zane had made his decision. He would not stay silent like his father. He would not give in to fear. Across the city, in a dark warehouse, Noor sat tied to a chair. Her wrists hurt, her head was bleeding, but her mind was strong. She listened to the sounds carefully. Footsteps, laughter, the deep voice of Mr. Harris. "Why didn't you stay quiet, blind girl?" Harry sneered. "You should have stayed in the shadows," Noor replied softly. "Even in the dark I can feel the truth. I can smell your fear." Harris slapped the table. "You know nothing." But Noor's calm face shook him. She did know something. Something no one else did. And that scared him more than anything. Meanwhile, Mr. Zane was moving quickly. He had hired a secret rescue team. His investigator had tracked the location, a warehouse on the city's edge, owned secretly by Harris. Under a fake name, Mr. Zane dressed in all black. "I'm not sending someone else this time," he said. "I'm going myself." His voice was cold, focused. This time, it was personal. The night was stormy as Mr. Zane and his team reached the warehouse. Noor sat quietly in the chair, eyes closed, lips moving in silent prayer. Suddenly the door burst open. Boom! Smoke filled the room. Men in black stormed in. Gunshots, screams, and then silence. Noor felt someone touch her arm. She turned her face slowly. "Mr. Zane?" she whispered. He knelt down, cut the ropes, and held her gently. "Yes, Noor. I'm here." She touched his face and smiled weakly. "I knew you'd come." The police arrived minutes later. Mr. Harris and the others were arrested. Their plan had been simple. Take over Mr. Zane's empire by faking loyalty, then destroy him from the inside. It started years ago, even before Amina's betrayal. They had been poisoning Mr. Zane's father slowly. They made it look like natural death. When Mr. Zane took over, they tried to do the same, but Noor changed everything. Back at the mansion, Noor sat by the window once again. Her wounds were healing. Her spirit was still strong. Mr. Zane sat beside her, holding the old notebook. He looked at her with respect. "You were the light in my darkest hour," he said. Noor smiled softly. "Sometimes the blind can see more clearly than those with eyes." He placed the notebook in her hands. "What should I do with this?" he asked. Noor thought for a moment, then replied, "Don't burn it. Share it. Let people know the truth. Secrets grow in silence." Mr. Zane nodded. "Then we'll publish it. Let the world see what nearly destroyed my family." Weeks passed. A book was released titled The Hidden War of the Millionaire, A True Story. It shocked the business world. Mr. Harris and his group were sentenced to life in prison. Amina's sentence was reduced. She had been used too, blinded by greed. She wrote a letter of apology to Noor. Noor forgave her because she believed in healing. Later that year, Mr. Zane opened a new school. It was called the Noor Foundation for the Blind and Forgotten. And guess who was named head of the school? Or she wasn't just a blind girl anymore. She was a symbol of courage. And Mr. Zane? He finally smiled again. Not because he was rich, but because he had found something money couldn't buy.